Have you ever felt like you're a magnet for the wrong kind of people? Like no matter how hard you try, you keep attracting relationships that drain you, hurt you, and leave you wondering what's wrong with you? Well, if you're an INFJ, this isn't just bad luck. There's actually a dark psychological reason why this keeps happening, and today we're going to uncover the uncomfortable truth that nobody talks about. Stick around, because understanding this might just change your life. The Empath's Curse: Why INFJs See Potential Where Others See Red Flags. Let's start with something that makes INFJs incredibly special but also incredibly vulnerable. You see things in people that others don't. While everyone else is running away from someone who's clearly troubled, you're standing there thinking, I can see who they really are underneath all that pain. Here's the thing though. This isn't just kindness or optimism. It's actually your dominant cognitive function at work. INFJs use something called introverted intuition, which means you're constantly looking beneath the surface, reading between the lines, and picking up on patterns that others miss completely. When you meet someone who's broken, damaged, or toxic, you don't just see their current behavior. You see their wounded inner child. You see their potential. You see the person they could become if someone just loved them enough, understood them enough, or stayed with them through the darkness. And that's where the trap begins. Because while you're busy seeing their potential, they're busy being exactly who they are right now. And who they are right now, that person might be emotionally unavailable, manipulative, narcissistic, or just plain toxic. The worst part is that your ability to see this potential isn't wrong. You're not imagining it. These people do have that light inside them. But here's what nobody tells you. Potential isn't the same as reality. And you can't love someone into becoming their best self, no matter how clearly you can see it. The helper complex, when your greatest strength becomes your biggest weakness. INFJs are natural healers. It's not something you chose. It's wired into who you are. You feel other people's pain almost as if it's your own, and your instinct is to fix it, soothe it, and make it better. Now, most people would say this is a beautiful quality. And it is. But toxic people can smell this from a mile away. They're drawn to your warmth like moths to a flame, except they don't just want to bask in your light, they want to consume it. When you meet someone who's struggling, your helper instinct kicks in automatically. You start thinking about how you can support them, what advice you can give them, how you can be there for them. You're not doing this because you want something in return. You're doing it because helping others gives your life meaning and purpose. But here's the dark side of this dynamic. Toxic people don't want to get better. They want someone to enable their dysfunction. They want someone who'll excuse their bad behavior, who'll take their emotional abuse, and who'll keep giving them chances long after they've proven they don't deserve them. And because you're so focused on helping them, you miss the signs that you're not actually helping. You're just becoming their emotional support system while they continue to hurt you. You tell yourself that if you just try a little harder, be a little more patient, or love them a little more deeply, they'll finally change. Spoiler alert, they won't. Because people only change when they want to change, not when someone else wants them to change. The door slam delay. Why INFJs stay too long in toxic relationships. If you're an INFJ, you've probably heard about the famous door slam. It's when an INFJ completely cuts someone out of their life with no warning. But here's what people don't understand. The door slam doesn't happen quickly. In fact, INFJs usually stay in toxic relationships way longer than they should. Because you give people chance after chance after chance. You're always thinking, maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe things will get better. This isn't naive. It's actually a combination of your cognitive functions and your deep values. INFJs use extrovert feeling, which means you're highly attuned to harmony in relationships. You hate conflict. You hate the idea of giving up on someone. You hate feeling like you're the bad guy who walked away when things got tough. So you stay. You tolerate behavior that you'd never accept from someone else. You make excuses for them. You blame yourself for their mistreatment. And all the while, you're getting more and more drained, more and more hurt, and more lost in a relationship that's slowly destroying you. The door slam only happens after you've been pushed past your breaking point so many times that there's nothing left. And by that time, the damage to your mental health, your self-esteem, and your ability to trust others is already done. The narcissist's dream. Why toxic people target INFJs specifically? Let's talk about something uncomfortable. If you're an INFJ who's been in multiple toxic relationships, it might not be a coincidence. Certain types of toxic people, especially narcissists, actively seek out people like you. Think about what narcissists need. They need constant validation, emotional supply, and someone who'll put up with their nonsense without fighting back too hard. Now think about INFJ traits: empathetic, understanding, patient, forgiving, and eager to see the good in people. You're basically a narcissist's perfect victim. And that's not your fault, but it is something you need to understand. Narcissists are incredibly good at spotting empaths. They can sense your kindness, your willingness to give people second chances, and your deep desire to understand others. In the beginning, they'll mirror your values, your interests, and your communication style. They'll make you feel like you've finally found someone who truly gets you. This is called love bombing, and INFJs are particularly susceptible to it because you've probably felt misunderstood your whole life. So when someone comes along who seems to see you, understand you, and appreciate your depth, it feels like a miracle. But once they've got you hooked, the mask starts to slip. The person who was once so perfect starts showing their true colors. But by this time, you're already emotionally invested. You've already seen their potential. You've already committed to helping them heal. And that's exactly what they were counting on. The authenticity paradox, seeking real connection in a shallow world. INFJs crave deep, authentic connections. Small talk drains you. Surface-level friendships feel meaningless. You want to know what makes people tick, what keeps them up at night, what their dreams and fears are. This is beautiful, but it also makes you vulnerable to toxic people who use depth and intensity as manipulation tools. Here's how it works. Healthy people usually open up gradually. They share their struggles and vulnerabilities over time as trust builds. But toxic people often trauma dump right away. They'll tell you their entire life story on the first date. They'll share their deepest wounds and darkest secrets before you've even known them a week. And for an INFJ, this feels like instant connection. Finally, someone who's willing to go deep. Someone who's not afraid of intensity. Someone who wants real, authentic relating. But there's a difference between authentic vulnerability and manipulative oversharing. Toxic people share their trauma not to build genuine connection, but to create a false sense of intimacy. They want you to feel special, like you're the only one who understands them. They want you to feel responsible for their healing. And because you value depth so much, you don't see it for what it is: a trap. You think you're building a real connection when you're actually being emotionally manipulated. The boundary problem. Why INFJs struggle to protect themselves. Let's be real here. INFJs aren't great with boundaries. You know you should have them. You've probably read books about them, watched videos about them, and told yourself a million times that you need to get better at setting them. But when push comes to shove, you struggle. Because setting boundaries feels mean. It feels selfish. It feels like you're abandoning someone who needs you. This is partly because of your extrovert feeling function. You're so tuned into other people's emotions that when you try to set a boundary, you immediately feel their disappointment, their hurt, or their anger. And that feeling is almost unbearable for you. So you back down. You say yes when you mean no. You accept behavior that crosses your lines. You give in to demands that you know aren't reasonable. And toxic people absolutely love this about you. They'll push your boundaries constantly, testing to see how much they can get away with. And every time you fail to hold the line, they learn that your boundaries are negotiable. They learn that if they just push hard enough, make you feel guilty enough, or act hurt enough, you'll cave. The truth is, boundaries aren't mean. They're necessary. They're not about punishing other people. They're about protecting yourself. But for INFJs, learning this lesson usually requires getting hurt so many times that you finally have no choice but to build walls instead of boundaries. The savior complex, confusing love with rescue missions. Here's a question that might sting a little. Are you attracted to broken people because you genuinely connect with them, or because fixing them makes you feel valuable? For many INFJs, relationships become rescue missions. You're not just falling in love with someone. You're taking on a project. You see someone drowning, and your instinct is to jump in and save them, even if it means you might drown too. This isn't conscious. You're not sitting there thinking, I'm going to date this mess of a person so I can fix them. But on a deeper level, helping people in pain gives you a sense of purpose. It makes you feel needed. It validates your existence. And toxic people are more than happy to let you play the savior role. They'll position themselves as victims of their circumstances, their past relationships, or their mental health struggles. They'll make you feel like you're the only one who can help them, the only one who truly understands. But here's the hard truth. You can't save anyone. People have to save themselves. And when you try to save someone who doesn't want to be saved, you don't end up helping them. You just end up losing yourself. Real love isn't about rescuing someone from their problems. It's about two whole people choosing to walk through life together. If you're constantly playing the role of therapist, parent, or savior in your relationships, that's not love. That's codependency. The intuition ignored, when you know but choose not to know. INFJs have incredibly strong intuition. You know things without knowing how you know them. You get feelings about people that turn out to be accurate way more often than not. You sense when something's off, even if you can't put your finger on exactly what it is. So here's the million-dollar question. If your intuition is so strong, why do you keep ending up in toxic relationships? The answer is uncomfortable but important. You ignore your intuition when it conflicts with what you want to believe. Your intuition might be screaming at you that this person is bad news. You might get a sick feeling in your stomach when you're around them. You might notice inconsistencies in their stories or red flags in their behavior. But you override all of that because you want to believe in their potential. You want to believe that your love can heal them. You want to believe that this time will be different. This is called cognitive dissonance, and INFJs are particularly prone to it in relationships. You're so good at understanding different perspectives that you can rationalize almost anything. You can explain away red flags. You can justify toxic behavior. You can convince yourself that your intuition is wrong. But deep down, you always knew. You just chose not to listen because listening would mean walking away from someone you've already invested your heart in. The intensity addiction, when drama feels like depth. Let's talk about something that many INFJs don't want to admit. Sometimes, you're attracted to toxic people because toxic relationships feel more intense, and you mistake that intensity for depth. Healthy relationships can feel boring to an INFJ, especially if you're used to toxic dynamics. There's no drama, no crisis to solve, no emotional roller coaster to ride. It's just steady, stable, consistent care and respect. And after years of intense, chaotic relationships, that can feel flat. You might even start to wonder if you really love someone if the relationship feels too peaceful. You might create problems just to have something to fix or push people away just to see if they'll fight for you. This isn't because you're broken or messed up. It's because your nervous system has adapted to chaos. You've become addicted to the highs and lows of toxic relationships. The drama, the intensity, the constant emotional stimulation. It's become your normal. And toxic people are more than happy to provide that intensity. They'll keep you on an emotional roller coaster with love bombing one day and stonewalling the next. They'll create drama out of nothing and make every disagreement feel like the end of the world. And as exhausting as it is, part of you craves it. Because at least when things are intense, you feel alive. At least when you're fighting to save the relationship, you feel like you have a purpose. But intensity isn't the same as depth. Drama isn't the same as passion. And chaos isn't the same as connection. Real depth comes from consistency, vulnerability, and mutual respect. It might not feel as exciting, but it's what actually nourishes your soul. The loneliness factor, accepting toxic love because it's better than nothing. Here's another painful truth. Sometimes INFJs stay in toxic relationships simply because being alone feels worse than being mistreated. INFJs are rare. You probably already know this. You make up only 1 to 3% of the population. You've probably felt different, weird, or misunderstood your whole life. You've probably struggled to find people who think like you, feel like you, or see the world like you do. So when someone comes along who shows you attention, who seems to understand you, who makes you feel less alone in the world, you hold on tight. Even if they're not good for you. Even if they hurt you. Because the thought of being alone again, of going back to feeling like an outsider in a world that doesn't understand you, feels unbearable. This fear of loneliness makes you tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate. It makes you lower your standards. It makes you convince yourself that this is the best you can do, that you should be grateful someone wants you at all. But here's what you need to hear. Being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. And you're not going to find healthy love if you're too busy settling for toxic love because you're afraid of being by yourself. The right person is out there. But you'll never meet them if you're still attached to the wrong person just because you're scared of being alone. The self-worth crisis. Why you think you deserve less than you do. At the core of all these patterns is usually one central issue: self-worth. Many INFJs who attract toxic people don't actually believe they deserve better. You might say you know your worth. You might even believe it intellectually. But on a deeper emotional level, you might carry beliefs like, I'm too much, I'm too intense, I'm too sensitive, or I'm too weird. You might think that anyone who truly knows you will eventually leave, so you should be grateful for anyone who sticks around, even if they treat you badly. These beliefs often come from childhood experiences. Maybe your emotional needs weren't met. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive or too dramatic. Maybe you learned early on that your value came from helping others, not from just being yourself. And now, as an adult, you unconsciously seek out relationships that confirm these beliefs. You choose people who treat you as if you're too much, too needy, or not good enough. Not because you consciously want to be hurt, but because these dynamics feel familiar. They match your internal narrative about yourself. Breaking this pattern requires doing the deep inner work to heal these wounds and rebuild your sense of self-worth. It requires learning to value yourself not for what you can do for others, but for who you are at your core. Breaking free. How INFJs can stop attracting toxic people. So how do you break this cycle? How do you stop attracting toxic people and start building the healthy relationships you deserve? First, you need to get brutally honest with yourself about your patterns. Look back at your past relationships and identify the common threads. What types of people do you keep choosing? What red flags do you consistently ignore? What needs are you trying to meet through these relationships? Second, you need to work on your boundaries. Start small. Practice saying no to small things. Notice when people push back against your boundaries and pay attention to how you respond. Learn to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others. Third, you need to learn the difference between potential and reality. Stop falling in love with who someone could be and start paying attention to who they actually are right now. Actions matter more than words. Consistency matters more than intensity. Fourth, you need to address your fear of being alone. Spend time by yourself. Rediscover who you are outside of relationships. Build a life that feels full and meaningful even when you're single. The right relationship should add to your life, not complete it. Fifth, you need to trust your intuition. When something feels off, it probably is. Don't override your gut feelings because you want to believe the best in someone. Your intuition is trying to protect you. Listen to it. And finally, you need to do the hard work of healing your self-worth issues. This might mean therapy, journaling, inner child work, or whatever healing practices resonate with you. But until you truly believe you deserve better, you'll keep accepting less than you deserve. The silver lining: your sensitivity is not the problem. Before we wrap up, I want to make something clear. Your sensitivity, your empathy, your ability to see potential in people, none of these things are flaws. They're gifts. The problem isn't that you're too much. The problem is that you've been directing these gifts toward people who don't appreciate them, can't reciprocate them, and will never be capable of the kind of deep, authentic love you're offering. You don't need to become cold or closed off to protect yourself. You don't need to stop believing in people or seeing the best in them. You just need to become more selective about who gets access to these gifts. Not everyone deserves your empathy. Not everyone deserves your patience. Not everyone deserves to be seen and understood by you. These are precious things, and you need to treat them as such. The right people will cherish your sensitivity. They'll value your depth. They'll reciprocate your care and respect your boundaries. They'll meet you with the same level of emotional maturity and genuine desire for connection that you bring to the table. Those people are out there. But you won't find them if you're still giving your energy to people who drain you, hurt you, and take advantage of your kindness. Conclusion. So here's the dark reason INFJs attract toxic people they can't be with. It's not just one reason. It's a perfect storm of your empathy, your ability to see potential, your helper complex, your boundary struggles, your fear of loneliness, and your unhealed wounds around self-worth. Toxic people target you because you're everything they need in a victim. You'll excuse their behavior. You'll see their potential. You'll give them endless chances. You'll take responsibility for their healing. And you'll do it all while blaming yourself for not being enough. But here's the truth. You are enough. You always have been. The problem was never you. The problem was that you were trying to build something real with people who were only capable of something toxic. Breaking this pattern isn't easy. It requires you to face uncomfortable truths about yourself and your relationship patterns. It requires you to set boundaries even when it feels mean. It requires you to walk away from people you care about because caring about them is destroying you. But on the other side of this work is freedom. Freedom from the constant drama and emotional exhaustion. Freedom to build relationships that actually nourish your soul. Freedom to be yourself without constantly trying to heal, fix, or save someone else. You deserve relationships where you feel safe, valued, and cherished. You deserve people who see your sensitivity as a gift, not a weakness to exploit. You deserve love that feels peaceful, not chaotic. And the first step toward getting what you deserve is refusing to accept anything less. So stop making excuses for people who hurt you. Stop seeing potential in people who show you through their actions that they're not capable of meeting you where you are. Stop sacrificing your peace for people who wouldn't sacrifice their comfort for you. You're not responsible for healing broken people. You're responsible for protecting your peace and choosing relationships that honor who you are. It's time to close the door on toxic patterns and open yourself up to the healthy love you've always deserved. And it starts with believing that you're worthy of it. Because you are. You always have been.